All right, you are on the platform. And look, it's been a busy time. I've been busy buying the platform. We've had the All Blacks winning, then losing. We've had marches across the bridge. We've had the Tom Phillips case and a lot of news filling the space. But in the meantime, I have been aware and reading international wires and social media that a lot has been happening in the world that maybe in a different time would have been the front page of our newspapers, and quite a lot happening around Ukraine and in Europe. So I thought I'd better bring myself up to date by someone who keeps an eye on that stuff much more closely and with more intellect than I do, and that is Professor Robert Patman, who joins us by video link now. Robert, how are you?
Good morning, Sean. I'm fine, thank you.
All right. Look,
How are you?
Look, been incredibly busy and not been paying, I suspect, as much attention as you or as I should to some other global events. I first want to just talk about Ukraine. Lots of reports of drones overflying various countries and genuine tensions rising in NATO, and it would seem to me heightened fears of the Russia-Ukraine conflict spreading.
Yes. In fact, I think some of us have been surprised how long this has taken, because I always thought when Russia invaded Ukraine, it's very difficult to contain a military effort of that scale within the borders of a country. However, Ukraine is a big border. But we now have a situation where the war seems to be spilling over. Since the beginning of August, we've had drone incursions by Russia in Lithuania, Poland, and now Romania. They're all members of NATO. And the debate around these incursions were they accidental? The evidence suggests not. And therefore, what is Mr. Putin doing? What is one interpretation would say that he is probing NATO's defenses, seeing whether they've got the political will to resist his plans for Ukraine, which are, judging by Mr. Putin's own words, still consists of basically fulfilling all Russians' core objectives, which is denying NATO membership to Ukraine, denying full sovereignty to Ukraine, and holding on to the territory that's been illegally seized, which is about 20% of Ukraine. So I think that, this is a serious development. And, Mr. Putin's under a lot of pressure domestically, Sean, which is not getting covered. In August, Ukraine took out 23%. In 1 month, they took out 23% of Russia's oil refining capacity.
Yeah, and I see their drone strikes on oil and energy facilities are continuing.
It's going on relentlessly. Every night they're hitting key energy infrastructure. And the reason they're doing this is not only to interrupt Russia's capacity to wage the war, but also because Russia is totally dependent on the export of oil. And that would dry up. I mean, the theory here behind these infrastructure attacks, and Ukraine's wanted to do this from the beginning, but it just hasn't had the capability. Now it has the capability.
What's changed? How did it get that capability? Where is it getting it from?
Well, it's become a world leader in drone technology.
Right.
And that is it the old expression, inventions, the
war is the locomotion of history, or
yeah. But you get they've got nowhere to go. Their country's been invaded, and they've got to improvise and innovate, and they've had support as well. So yeah, I mean, but the Russians are also pouring on the drone attacks. So I'm not trying to minimize what's a horrific situation for Ukraine, but I think the war is delicately balanced, and I think there is an argument doing the rounds that Mr. Putin is feeling the heat domestically, because one of the problems of being an authoritarian leader and not being particularly sympathetic to independent journalists or political opponents is that you can do that providing you can demonstrate to ordinary Russians that you can make sure their life is secure and safe. The problem is the war is firmly coming home now to Russia. Russians, for example, in big cities such as St. Petersburg, are having to queue and sometimes they can't get access to petrol for their cars, and that is beginning to have spillover effects. Moscow could be affected shortly by that.
What has NATO's response been to these drone incursions? Does it know what to do? And has it? Got articles. It's got articles. If its members are threatened, if you are a member of NATO and someone does that sort of stuff, they can march.
Poland cited Article 4, which is not Article 5 is when an attack on one NATO country is an attack on all. They didn't cite that one because Mr. Putin had plausible denial. He claimed, his government claimed, it was not intentional. But for 19 drones to unintentionally go over Ukraine and 4 of them hit the deck or were grounded by, you asked me how NATO respond? Dutch F-35s and Polish fighters took down some of the drones, which was over their airspace. In addition, the Polish government confronted the Russian government in the UN Security Council and denounced what they were doing. NATO is strengthening what it calls its eastern flank. That is the major strategic response to these drone attacks. But I think this conflict could quickly escalate beyond Ukraine, and that is the real danger.
Okay, and if you wanted something to stir it up, Trump's off to visit Starmer, is he? In Britain.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
And if you wanted something to throw a spanner in the works, Trump's off to visit Starmer, and I'm sure they'll be talking about this on his state visit.
Yeah, well, obviously, Mr. Starmer and Mr. Trump don't see the situation identically. I think the Europeans have hoped that Mr. Trump would fall into line with their perspective. Mr. Trump has expressed his frustration with Mr. Putin repeatedly and has said that if all NATO members agree, he will take tough sanctions. The problem is that 2 NATO members don't agree, and that's Hungary and Slovakia, who both get oil from Russia and are, probably pro-Putin, the governments there, Mr. Viktor Orban and the government of Slovakia. So I think the Europeans are slowly realizing that their interests are different from the Trump administration, and they will probably just have to go ahead and confronting Putin on their own.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen.
All right. Meantime, also, there was the Israeli strike on Hamas terrorist leaders in Qatar, in Doha. Has there been any real consequence from that, or just a little bit of online outrage and everything's carried on?